Good afternoon. I'm speaking to you live just outside.
I like to think balding is just God's way of saying, now let's see you get laid.
Is it true that if you don't use it, you lose it?
What I'd really like to do is put the greatness of this man in perspective.
The hair loss community has a lot to be thankful for, having you as a spokesperson.
You mean you just call this guy up?
About life and about reality.
And now, America's #1 reality radio show for men. Live from Los Angeles, it's Spencer Kobren's The Bald Truth.
Hey guys, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for hanging out for the extra 12, 15 minutes or whatever we are, however late we are. I will take ownership today. I was stuck in traffic, just got to the studio, and Joe is actually on time. So, hooray for that.
But we're delayed by an hour because I was watching a movie.
Oh, that's
and
right.
enjoying the hell out of it.
I forgot about that. That's why we started at 3. So I decided, you know what? I need to run some errands back home and then drive over here to Beverly Hills. And during this time in Los Angeles, that could take a fucking hour.
It's only 5 miles.
Yeah, well, essentially, it's like 20 miles, but it should only take, it should take no more than 15 minutes, 20 minutes.
But that's the traffic.
But that is the traffic. But essentially, you know, when I was younger, I used to stress over those things, and I see these people just banging on their fucking steering wheels, of course, while they're looking at their cell phone, at their Instagram feed or whatever, you know.
Of course, of course.
You know, you cannot sit in an LA traffic jam or anywhere without seeing somebody, or even at a stoplight, on their fucking phones. It's actually infuriating for me, not to bring the room down, but, you know, my brother was killed by a distracted driver. And, you know, to see this consistently and getting worse, you know, and even people walking across the fucking street. Now, it's going to be great for the chiropractors, and it's going to be great for the neurosurgeons who are going to have to be performing surgery on these kids and working on these kids in 10 years because their spines are so fucking out of whack and their necks are so fucked up from looking at their phones all the time. But it's not great for pedestrians. It's not great for, you know, I mean, accidents are going through the roof. I refuse to look at my phone unless I am at a dead stop, and I have to communicate with somebody. I mean, I either have to pull over or I'm at a dead stop. Then I'd be like a real quick situation, you know, like, hey, I'm going to be late or whatever it is, like I think I did today. But I mean, I was in a moving parking lot essentially when I texted.
But that's why I love Siri and Google. I can actually like I'll be driving and I will tell Siri, hey Siri, send a text to so and so with, you know, blah 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 blah, and it works really well. Yeah, it helps you to avoid looking at it.
It's all great and well and good until you have a fight with your wife and you start getting ads for marriage counseling on Facebook.
Of course, yes. But one of the fun things I do when I find people, especially pedestrians, it kind of creates problems if you do it.
You check the phone
if they're in a car.
Yeah, I'm listening.
But when a pedestrian steps into the middle of the street without looking because they're buried in their phone, I will actually creep up on them with my truck, and I will lay into the horn and watch them shit their pants.
That's horrible.
It's horrible, but it's fun, and it teaches them a lesson.
I'll tell you what I do when people tailgate me. I flip my lights on, like I'm braking.
Yeah,
and because they can't tell the difference between the brake lights and the lights, and you just hear them fucking squealing behind you, man. It is the fucking best. Do not tailgate me
today on the 405 due to someone flashing their brakes.
Do not tailgate me, motherfuckers. Guys, this is the Hair Loss Show. We are live, 888-659-3727. I want to thank all of you for joining us, taking the time to come here on a Friday. I'm sorry that we were late. I have not even checked to see. I can't even tell. Well, first of all, I have no idea who's listening on iHeart, iTunes, whatever it is, but feel free to call us if you were listening to the broadcast. I am not in Joe's chat, so I can't see how many people are actually in Joe's chat right now. But we do appear to have a lot of, or a good amount of viewers right now looking at my resources, and we have 0 calls. So what I would suggest you do, if you want us to stay on the air for the next hour or so, you call us. We will be here to answer any of your hair loss questions or concerns. The phone number is 888-659-3727. If you don't know who we are or why we are here, we are the Hair Loss Guys. I was reminded of this the other day, but I know this anyway. I have been doing this broadcast. I've been on the air for 21 years, since 1998, which is unfucking believable. And I want to thank all of you guys for continuing to bring me back. I got a great message from our Australian friend on my personal Instagram page, essentially saying, just thanking us for doing what we do, saying that, we are changing people's lives and that he is listening. And I thanked him because it was a very interesting day for me, the day that he wrote that. And I said, you know what, man, it's emails and messages like yours and posts like yours and comments like yours that keep me continuing to do what I do when I can just ride off into the sunset right now and say, fuck y'all. Not you guys, not my listeners, not my friends, not the people who are part of what we do, not the people who appreciate everything that we do, including the countless really ethical physicians in this field who support these efforts and help us to get our message of truth out to those who need it. If there are 10,000 people listening today, that's great. If there are 2,000 people listening today, that's great. If there are 30 people listening today, each and every one of you is getting something out of this broadcast. And that is why I continue to do this. If there was one person in Joe's chat room right now, I would continue to do the program as long as we got some calls, because I want that person who's obviously in need and wants to be a part of this to be informed, to get help, to maybe share their story so others can hear it as well. So I want to thank everybody who has supported us for all these years. We are here to tell you the truth. And this is a truth that you will not see on message forums. This is a truth that you will not see anywhere sadly, on social media. This is a truth you will not hear about on people's websites or, in their advertising. The bottom line is that everyone who is in this industry, for the most part, is trying to sell you something. Anyone who is claiming that they are not trying to sell you something are selling you something on the down low. If you are going to online message forums that have private PMing systems, you are being sold, in my view, a bill of goods. There are a couple of guys out there who I think run their PMing systems probably pretty well. And you know what? Before we even take your calls, and thank you for calling in, guys, I want Joe to mention the forum owners who are supporting this project, who support this program, and who support, a sense of community, as opposed to just the toxicity that has been so prevalent in this industry amongst physicians, amongst forum owners, amongst anyone who is out there claiming to do you any good. These are good people, and they are willing to share this message with you, and they don't expect anything from it except to help their users. So, Joe, go ahead.
Well, that's the great thing about what you just said with the following forum friends is how I'll call them. First off, we've got let's start with hairlossexperiences.com. It's primarily, it's based in the UK, but they've got clinics that participate from all over the world sharing their results, and they've got patients that are also sharing their experiences with these various clinics around the world. They have been friends of our show, personal friend of mine for many years. The the person that runs this forum is also a repair patient, and he spends countless hours behind the scenes helping other patients that have been harmed in this industry in a way that I simply can't do. I mean, this guy has really stepped up. It's what he does. I mean, he talks to law firms. He's talking to other doctors. I mean, it's really. I can't. I wish I could talk more about this. Almost even dedicate a show to it. But he's very humble, and he doesn't want his name out there. He doesn't want to get this kind of recognition. But he deserves.
Well, there's a few reasons why you don't want your name out there when you're doing something good in this world.
Well, yeah, of course, of course. But he deserves all the support that anyone listening to this show can give. That's hairlossexperiences.com. I do encourage you to go over there, register, and say hello and thank him for allowing us to stream this show through his website. That's hairlossexperiences.com. Next up, we've got bellycapelli.forumfree.it, another personal friend of mine I've known for over 15 years, a repair patient, a hell of the nicest guy.
That's like one of the most,
industry.
I don't mean to cut you off, but I think that's one of the most trafficked hair loss forums in the world. It's been around forever.
Yeah, it is.
It
has been, and it is. And it's been a project of or a labor of love for the owner. He's also pretty busy behind the scenes helping people, and I mean, just another great guy. And the great thing is you don't have to speak Italian to understand the forum, because most modern browsers will translate, and there's even a translate feature on the website, so you can translate into English or whatever language you want. That's bellycapelli.forumfree.it. And then finally, we've got international-hairlossforum.com. That's the French hair loss and hair restoration forum. I've known the owner of this forum for quite a while as well. He's not a repair patient, but he does understand hair loss. He does have concerns about hair loss. He understands what people are going through with hair loss. And just like the other forums, he's got a list of clinics that share their results and more patients that share their experiences. Great supporter of this website. Again, if you can, go to all these websites and thank them for streaming this broadcast. That last one was international-hairlossforum.com. And I want to say one final thing before we move on. When I spoke to each of these forum owners about, when the subject of streaming our program came up, not a single one of them said to them, "What's in it for me?" Not a single one of them said, "Oh, I don't know if I'll get anything out of it." There were some people in the past that have said, "Well, I don't know what I'll get out of it. Like, what benefit does it give me?" And I think that is one of the most selfish things that you can say in this industry, when all you got to do is just sit back and allow your web property to support a positive message.
How about helping? Sorry, put myself on there. How about helping the world? How about helping your users? There is and which I think is great. We're doing FUE Europe. I'm really excited that things are really coming together. The IHRS and FUE Europe are coming together to really, I think, put on a tremendous meeting, a great scientific meeting, and also a great show for those who are out there looking for help. And what I mean by a show is, it's never been done where the mainstream hair transplant consumer could really be made privy to these scientific meetings. And we're going to do our best to make that happen. I'm going to be there broadcasting both in, tape delay. Some of it will be live. And we're going to be able to get a lot of people involved. And again, if we have 500 guys who are considering having a hair transplant by some turnkey fucking operation who find us and have access to speaking to some of these surgeons, we are saving and changing their lives. That is the value of what we do and why it's so important that we continue to do what we do. And I appreciate that, all of these major forum owners are all part of FUE Europe as well. Mm-hmm. We all interact. We are all able to communicate on a on a not only a civil level, but a friendly level. And there is nobody who is concerned about so-called competition. There is no competition. Right. We are in this, especially now, more than ever, in my view, and this isn't completely altruistic. We all make money. That's the way of the world. We have to in order to survive. But we are in this to get the right word out there. And any physician who supports, whether it's hair loss experiences or Bella Capelli or well, they don't really support
International Hair Loss Forum.
Yeah, well, International Hair Loss Forum. They don't really support my forum. They're part of the IHRS, so it's a different situation. But, I want them to support these guys. You know what's interesting? I was actually contacted by a doctor in Pakistan last night through WhatsApp. And he asked me about a specific forum and what I thought and whether or not he should support the forum. I'm not going to name the forum because I don't want to embarrass the person, just let him know that it asked about it. But, and this guy is solicited by everybody. The forum owner of this particular forum happens to be a very nice guy. Also happens to have always showed a tremendous amount of respect for what we do and what I do, and has always reached out through social media. And my exact response to him was, look, the key is to work with good people. And he mentioned their position in this field. And I said, look, it's growing. It's good. And sometimes it's better to be involved in something that might be a little smaller with less physicians involved, at first. Mm-hmm. It may actually benefit you, but you also have the opportunity to benefit those who actually take the time to go to that forum. But either way, at least you're going to be working with someone that is not going to try to extort you or try to bully you or try to harm your practice in some way, shape, or form. The worst thing that could happen is you get a little exposure and then you decide not to be involved anymore.
Yep.
And they close the book. So I was glad I was able to offer him that information. I kind of thought that maybe he felt I wouldn't offer him that, but I did. I think that this owner is a nice guy. But anyway, this is a ruthless fucking industry, people. From the doctors to those who are claiming to provide you information, to those who are providing resources where you are interacting with other anonymous users, fucking ruthless. So you need to be careful. We are going to get this message out there in a much bigger way this year. Again, I'm kind of back in the saddle. I'm excited about it. I was rushing to get to the studio today. I'm sorry that I'm late because I like doing this show. There was a short time, but a time between my stint in radio, my almost 15 years in radio, and just going online that I was really considering just getting out early because I wasn't as motivated because I didn't know what was going on places like YouTube and stuff like that. And I know that this is a long opening. I'll take your calls in a second, but I think it's important that you guys hear this. You have Joe Tillman to thank for me continuing on in this mission. Because honestly, if Joe didn't say, look, man, we need to do this, you need to continue, you can't retire, continue doing what you're doing. There's this whole new group of millennials and really young guys who are being steered in the wrong direction by forum people and by YouTubers and stuff like that. And I think by the YouTubers, not necessarily intentionally. Forum owners, that's a different story. But that's why we're here. And you know what? I'm going to be here for I'm going to give it, let's see how far we can turn it around, maybe 48 months. I'll see. I'll still be young.
That's fair.
And maybe I'll just hand the baton over to Joe. Phone number is 888. I know you don't want it, dude. It is a fucking, that is like a, what's the word?
Oh, great. Put the bullseye on my back.
It is you are a fucking moving target when you are, or if you put yourself out there and you're well known and you're affecting change and you're calling people out for their fucking shit.
Yep. Good times.
But, what do I give a shit? I'm going to be 54 years old. I could drop dead tomorrow. 888-659-3727. Let's see who this is. Hey, guys, thanks for holding. You're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Mike from Philadelphia.
Mike from Philadelphia. How are you, man?
Good, good. So I just want to give you guys a little recap. I got a few questions for you.
Sure.
Okay. So I called you guys back in July. So I was on finasteride for about 6 years. About halfway into my stint on finasteride, my pharmacy changed brands on me. Consequently, this ended up in me losing a fuck ton of hair.
Really?
Unfortunately, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah. So afterwards, I decided to hop on dutasteride, 0.5 milligrams every day. I got to tell you guys, the fucking side effects on dutasteride are pretty wild. They're manageable, but man, it's a whole different fucking beast than compared to finasteride.
Well, talk about it.
Really?
I mean, there will be about 3 or 4 days where I'm fucking my girlfriend 4 or 5 times a day. I'm just ravenous libido. And then a week where I barely want to even be touched. Penis sensation comes and goes, and it's very weird, but it's kind of manageable. So I've been on it for about a year.
Okay.
I was expecting a lot more to happen. I'm 30 years old. I'm in Norwood too. I was expecting a lot more to happen, but at this point, I think I'm maintaining. I'm slightly below baseline. So about halfway into my stint with dutasteride for a year, I decided to hop on RU 58841. So I'm doing 50 milliliters of RU every night along with my dutasteride. And I got to be honest, I think RU is great. I'll get sore scalp and itchiness when using dutasteride, but if this took it away, it might be, a placebo kind of thing. But what is your opinion on these, research topical anti-androgens that you're seeing everywhere on the internet these days?
Well, I have to say, I mean, this RU 58841, we were talking about that in the alt-type ball spot days in like 1997, 1998. I mean, this is an agent that has been talked about, that was being studied by Rousseau Pharmaceuticals, that did not go into production or was not approved or continued doing any clinical trials for hair loss. The reality is, because for the most part, you have to buy it separately and mix it yourself. Is that what you're doing now?
Yep, I got buy a bottle of Everclear, 99 proof and propylene glycol, and you mix it up yourself.
Yeah. How do you know that you're getting RU 58841? How do you know exactly what you're putting on your scalp?
You just go from the website's credibility, from what people are saying on the hair loss forums. It's really fucked up. But
it's totally fucked up.
I mean,
and to be honest with you, and this is not to chastise you, it's very possible that you're getting the same molecular structured drug in the mail, and it's possible that you are not. It's possible that you're getting just a placebo, a bunch of powder. And
I absolutely agree with that,
yeah.
and that's totally the common sense view. But I mean, we'll fucking do anything to keep our hair. You know what I mean?
And listen, I get that,
course,
and it
yeah.
could be what you're mixing it with that's actually helping to reduce your inflammation. So that's something to take into account. I'm not saying that these companies are ripping you off by any means. That's not my point. But the thing is, you do not know. Now, you would have to get it tested by a laboratory that had the ability to test for that particular molecular structure of that particular drug that is not being manufactured by the drug company that was originally testing it. So who's manufacturing it? How is it being manufactured? Is it in somebody's lab? Is it a meth lab type of situation? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. And, what kind of got me onto this RU 58841 and, the CB03, whatever. So some people on the forums, I know I hate to mention this, but they kind of have this
I just want to say this. I don't mean to cut you off. I want to hear you. But anytime I hear people on the forums, I have a forum, but I hear people on the forums, it just gives me chills. Because,
I know.
Because
I know exactly where you're coming from.
Yeah, because there are people on other forums other crazy forums that have nothing to do with hair loss that are, telling people how to use black market anabolic steroids. And, it's just, this is a crazy fucking world we live in, man. And I get the desperateness because I did everything I possibly could at the time before I had any, real access to drugs that work. I was willing to do anything, and I did it. So I just want to let you know I'm not chastising you, but anytime people come and talk about this, I need our listeners to know my feelings on the subject and just and kind of put things into perspective. But go ahead. I'm sorry to cut you off. I want to hear the rest of your story.
So, you see guys that are taking oral anti-androgens, finasteride blocking 70% DHT, dutasteride, almost all of your systematic DHT is being blocked. Why would your hair not respond to that? And a lot of people think that testosterone, some guys their follicles are more susceptible to testosterone. And really what people are saying is the only way you can really block testosterone from binding to your androgen receptors is to use these fucking crazy topical anti-androgens. And I don't know if I'm just overthinking this too much, but I feel like me personally, my hair is sensitive to testosterone and not DHT. And that's why I'm getting such a sense of results with these topical anti-androgens.
And you know what? You may actually be getting results. You may actually be getting the real McCoy, or at least a version of the real McCoy. Something that was produced well. But also, what's scary about that is, what's the next batch going to be like?
Yeah.
You just don't fucking know, man. And I'm not telling you not to continue to use it. I'm not a physician. This is something you have to talk to your physician about, which I'm pretty sure you're not. And neither is anybody else on the forums. And I'm also not here to, again, make fun of anybody or joke about this, because shit is for real, man. Hair loss fucks you up. I would do, at the time, especially when I was young, I would have done anything. Told me to inject some shit in my head. Give me the syringe. I'm there.
Yep.
So I totally get it. I'm glad you're getting some results, but if you're asking a question, and tell me if you are, about why some people can block 70% or 75% of their DHT and still not get results from finasteride, for instance, it's because they are genetically extremely sensitive to the ravages of DHT on their hair follicles. And for some people, genetically, a small amount of DHT binding to the receptors won't miniaturize or affect their hair, or maybe will affect their hair, but at a much slower rate. That's almost unnoticeable. So it really is just, in essence, testosterone is the original culprit, but the byproduct of testosterone is DHT. The only way to lower DHT is to block type 1 or type 2 5-alpha reductase. Finasteride does blocks type 2, that enzyme. So, for some people that's gold, and for others, shit doesn't work. And it showed that in the clinical trial. So is it just testosterone? No, I don't think so. Testosterone's the original culprit. But like I always say, it's like a symphony of shit that has to go into your body, in your body, for any of these agents or any of these drugs to work well or not to work.
Yeah. So, hey, I thank you guys for your input. I love what you guys do. I'm going to call back next year. I'm going to stick on dutasteride for another year. I'm getting married. I'm 30. I'm almost about ready to put this fucking hair loss shit behind me. I'm going to stick it out one more year, see if I get results. If not, I'm hopping off it.
So what is it's interesting that you say that. So you're getting married. So is your fiance, is she like, just shave it or whatever?
Oh, she goes, she doesn't care. She goes, just shave your head. What are you doing all this for? And, so I'm, having a few glasses of wine. I really want to shave my head, but I just haven't gotten to that point yet.
I have been there, motherfucker. I don't mean to call you motherfucker, but I've been there, dude. I have been like standing in front of the mirror with a bottle of Jack Daniels in my hand, thinking what my life would be like if I didn't have to, cover up this shit with hairspray and the paint and all that stuff and just go for it. And come on the air one day completely fucking bald.
Sometimes I feel like just
I
live
fantasize
streaming,
about
shaving my
I
head.
fantasize about walking through the wind and everything and putting the windows down and not giving a fuck.
Dude, I have lived my life essentially in a disguise for the last 30 years. That's how I feel. And I guess it's not a disguise because I tell the world about it. So it's kind of like, they say you're only as sick as your secrets. So I'm really glad that it's cathartic for me to be able to talk about this.
That's basically what the show has been for the past 20 years. It's been therapy session for Spencer.
It has been.
to talk about his issues.
It really has been. And when it makes it so easy for me to explain when I talk about it in public, even though people are sometimes like, oh, you paint your head? What the fuck is that? Or, if someone goes to touch my hair and it like you can catch a bullet in it because of the amount of hairspray. I just explain it to them and it's like nothing. They don't give a shit. So go ahead.
It's a crazy fucking world we live in. But hey, I'm going to call you guys next year in
good
2020.
luck,
I'll see you on April 26th, and good luck to all of you.
All right, man. Thanks a lot for the call.
All right.
Okay.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Take care, buddy.
Joe, I'll be right back. Say something to these guys. Hold on for 1 sec.
I actually had something I want to talk about, but I forgot what it was now that the pressure's on.
Figure it out.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Too bad there's not a call. Can you get a caller? Is there someone on hold? I guess not. Anyway, I was trying to. Oh yeah, I know what I was going to talk about. I was talking, or as the last caller was talking about RU, and I can never remember the full name of it, but the way I feel. Jesus H Christ!
Sorry about that.
Holy.
But there you go again.
Okay. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, I forgot. I lost my train of thought. Let me go wipe the blood out of my ear. Hold on. Ooh. Woo. That was loud. Anyway, yeah, I always find it interesting. I know that there are people out there that will do anything they can to keep their hair, but I always think about the long-term ramifications of going this underground route. And I'm not so concerned about what the hell it is I'm putting on my head. I'm concerned about what happens if I can't get more of this 6 months from now or 3 years from now. Like say it works great. It's like steroids. It's like, oh, I can go to the gym and I could maintain, this physique and, keep doing this thing. But it's like, what if something happens where I can't get a hold of it anymore? Fuck.
That's actually a great point. And guys, to give full disclosure, I didn't eat much today, and I just had like a weird bit of vertigo, which is unusual for me.
Oh, wow.
And I was just like, you know what? I got to get something in my stomach really quickly. So
you okay now?
Check me out. Balance.
I'm looking at your time delay.
I'm good. You what?
I'm looking at you at time delay right now, watching YouTube, not the live screen.
Yeah, no, I'm absolutely fine. It was very short. Okay. I mean, it's unusual. I've had it before, like when I was younger. It usually has to do with not having any food in my stomach.
Yeah, I'll get a what's it called? Low blood sugar. I'll get hypoglycemic sometimes. I'll start shaking.
Yeah, I think that's my form of it. Like I'll get a little bit of a slight dizziness, not real vertigo, not like you're flipping upside down or anything.
Yeah.
But I was just like, okay, either I'm gonna fall over right now, or put the camera on Joe. So,
and then blast his eardrums out.
Yeah. No, but you're absolutely right. I think about that all the time. When I think about these Propecia Help guys and all this bullshit and these. And I will say that there's maybe some attorneys believe in this, but there are several ambulance chasers that have jumped on this bandwagon. I'm like, don't fuck up my stash, man. Do not fuck up my stash of Propecia or ProScar.
I'll come looking for you. It's like
because it should change my life.
Yeah. I mean, can you imagine like the increase of male suicide rate if suddenly Propecia was no longer available, or finasteride?
My concern is that Merck will stop making brand name Proscar.
Yeah.
And we'll be stuck with figuring out what generic to take.
Well, I know it's generic to take.
Well, it would still be stuck having to switch after all these years. Now, I have a feeling that Merck sells enough of their 5 milligram name brand Proscar to keep that into production.
I'm hoping they do.
Yeah. But please, if you're listening, guys, you have thousands of customers, well worth manufacturing it. I'll figure out a way for you guys to keep things going. Anyway, the phone number, guys, is 888-659-3727. We had a full board, but then everyone dropped when I almost fell over. So call us. Otherwise, we're going home. 888-659-3727. I was just brought. I was sent a text by a physician. IHS member actually told him to call in to talk about it. And there's currently a lawsuit that is happening, a malpractice suit that's happening here in the state of California. The plaintiff is a hair transplant patient who had surgery with the defendant, who is a board-certified plastic surgeon who used a turnkey device. I think the device was a neograph. And this particular patient was unhappy with the results and also shocked that the physician was not, as the plaintiff claims, really part of the surgery, and that unlicensed technicians were performing the surgery, according to this lawsuit here in the state of California.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's making a big deal out of it, how, this is incredible. And I think there was an article in the Hair Transplant Forum International about it. I'm not sure if that's what was sent to me. And I've been privy to this for a very long time. and I'm going to talk more about this. But, I do think that it's certainly a catch-22. Looking at the way the plaintiff's attorneys is currently handling things, it appears to me that they're just going to end up attempting to go for a settlement. Obviously, you're working with malpractice insurance. Not much will come out of this if that happens. There are better ways to go about it, in my view, which I can talk about. I'd be more than happy to speak to their attorneys. But, the bottom line is that in most states in this country, you just look at the, what is it called? The scope of practice for patients or medical assistants in the state of California. Mm-hmm. Nowhere in the scope of practice, and that's the only thing that the law has to go by, does it state that they can actually handle live organs or implant live tissue or organs into somebody's scalp, even if cuts are already made. And that is really not within their scope of practice anywhere in the state of, or in the United States that I'm aware of. Mm-hmm. Now, for someone to say that extracting or cutting someone's scalp, even with a very small punch, is illegal, it's a stretch because nothing has ever been determined. The only way that the law or the state medical boards can determine anything is by looking at what has already been determined to be the scope of practice for these assistants or for these medical assistants, and work within those guidelines. So according to, at least to my knowledge, there is an argument that would say that the hair transplant industry has been performing essentially illegally since its inception.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's a lot of problems with that as well. If, say, one of these companies, say this case did go to trial and they won and they got a judgment and there was a precedent set, and then there was some sort of jurisdiction or some sort of legislation passed. That legislation passed would be across the board, unless each state decided to change the scope of practice for medical assistants to be able to allow to handle and manipulate live organs and tissue, which I doubt would happen. So what would happen to the consumer? The consumer then be faced with, well, the physicians will have to scramble to train registered nurses or PAs to do the work. So essentially, these are going to be relatively untrained people with no time on tissue being thrown into the arena with patients to perform surgery, quote unquote, legally. So the whole thing is really fucked up. And in my view, the way things are they're going about things are really fucked up. I would love for this doctor to call in so we can discuss it and I could be more specific. But, the reality is it illegal for these turnkey guys, these plastic surgeons, just to let these technicians who may be qualified and have really skilled to do surgery? Well, there's been no legislation passed at this point. And there's only been a couple of states where the state medical board asserted that they cannot condone this, but it doesn't mean that it's illegal unless the state decides to make it a legal issue or a criminal issue. I know I just went on a rant and Joe's falling asleep.
That's a good one. No.
But, there are people in this industry that are making a big deal about this lawsuit. And all I can say is that the industry, the ISHRS especially, had the opportunity to really leverage this correctly. And reading the declarations that I've read and, being privy to this, I'm like, man, this is what they wanted. And they even dropped the fucking ball on this one.
Well, the question becomes, okay, so what if it's determined that using technicians for this is I don't know if illegal is even the right term. What does that mean for all the doctors that have been using technicians for strip surgery for the past 15 years, 20 years?
Oh, that's exactly right. And there's something in the law called, which I forget, but it basically means a retroactive action.
Yeah.
And, this is a really slippery slope. In my view, the best way is to educate the consumer so the consumer walks in with open eyes and knows the questions to ask. And if he chooses to only go to a doctor who has a lot of time on tissue, who does this himself, then that's their choice. If he understands who the technicians are or the assistants are, and if he believes they have enough time on tissue and experience, then let him make that choice as well. But it all comes down to patient education, because once you start to try to pass legislation, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong, I'm just saying you guys are potentially fucking yourselves and, sadly, for at least 2, 3, maybe 4 years, fucking a lot of patients who would have had really much better outcomes if you just allowed the assistants who have that skill set already honed to continue to work under your tutelage or under the auspices of your medical license. And this could be a great debate that I would say that any reasonable person, if a physician came and said, well, I disagree with you, what we've been doing is legal this whole time, I can guarantee you if we had a law professor sit in on the show, there would be a very interesting debate going on that, this organization and a lot of the doctors who are really, I think, pushing things in a very, let's just say, naive way, would be shocked to hear. The phone number is 888-659-3727. Let's see who this is. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Hey, this is James from Texas.
James from Texas, man. How are you?
James.
Good. How are you doing?
All right. Welcome.
Hey, so I know we didn't get to finish last time. I think at the very end, on Tuesday, you saw something on Instagram about finasteride and diabetes. Did you?
I didn't even read. I didn't even read about it. I'm just like, you know what? It was from something from 2014. I realized, and
it's just resurging again.
And, yeah, and I was just like, unless somebody asks me, and then I'll do the research. I don't want to know. I've been on this shit for over 20 years. But Joe, you may have done it. We talked about it briefly. Did you read about it again?
No.
All right, so let's check it out right now for you guys.
No, I didn't check it out because once I saw it was 2014, I thought, okay, well, this is nothing new. And if I didn't hear about it back then it couldn't have been a big deal. I'm just going to go on a limb. I'm going to guess that it was one researcher with 2 rats in a cage, or something silly like that, or maybe a couple of, it was nothing large scale like legitimate studies need to be. It was most likely, just as valid as, scientist grows hair on bald mouse, that kind of thing. It probably has that much impact on your life. All
right, so here's a study: incidence of type 2 diabetes in men receiving steroid 5-alpha reductase inhibitors, population-based cohort study. This was done in, it says 2019.
Oh, it's a new one. Okay.
And let's see, accepted March 11, 2000, abstract, objective to investigate the incidence of new onset type 2 diabetes in men receiving steroid 5-alpha reductase inhibitors, dutasteride or finasteride, for long-term treatment of benign prostate hyperplasia. Design population-based was a cohort study. It was done in the UK clinical practice research. Let's see. Participants, men in the CPRD who received dutasteride, 8,231, and finasteride, 30,771. Let's see. Evaluated propensity score. Okay. Main outcomes measure. Results. New onset type 2 diabetes events in 368 dutasteride users and 1,207 finasteride users. Now, there were 30,000 in the trial. So 1,200 got type 2 diabetes, and they have no fucking clue if it was because it was finasteride. There's no causal evidence.
Yeah, and what was the control for trying to determine that? You can't.
Yeah, it says
it's such a small percentage to begin with.
And also their conclusions is the risk in developing new onset type 2 diabetes appears to be higher in men with benign prostate hyperplasia exposed to 5-alpha reductase inhibitors than in men receiving transulozine, which I guess is another drug, but did not differ between men receiving dutasteride and those receiving finasteride. Additional monitoring may be required for men starting these drugs. Now, the reality is, like Joe was saying, first of all, if you have benign prostate hyperplasia as a young man, there are probably other factors involved that are causing you to have those hormonal issues. Same type of factors that can cause type 2 diabetes. And again, I am not a physician, but I can guarantee you if they did their body mass index and measured what they ate, they would see a correlation of eating like shit, being overweight, and not exercising with those who did have type 2 diabetes.
And I think also I didn't hear the detail on this, but if they found out that they had BPH, and this study was after the fact or during the fact, they probably developed type 2 diabetes because they said, fuck it, I'm young, I got benign prostate hyperplasia, I'm probably going to get cancer and die, give me the cake.
That's a possibility.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
But just an idea.
But it's still, if you really think about it, I mean, so 1,000, less than 1,300 out of 30,000 participants is still relatively small.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
what
honestly, I'm actually not
research
even worried
would
about
say
it.
statistically insignificant.
Well, what I would say is, and type 2 diabetes is also a type of diabetes that is very controllable. So maybe if they do have type 2 diabetes, that if they decide to juice and do intermittent fasting, change their lifestyle, that they would find that their type 2 diabetes disappears.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm actually not even worried about it right now. I'm more so, I can relate more to the caller that called before me, talking about finasteride, and then he moved on to dutasteride, and how he's just I guess how some people may not respond to 5-alpha reductase inhibitors, and that's kind of fascinating to me too, because like I said in the past, I finally decided to build the courage to take medication, and I as well. I too started with finasteride, and I'm on dutasteride now for a little over a month now. And I know in the past you've advised against it, but I think that I feel that my hair loss is rather aggressive because I have the diffuse pattern alopecia, and I think I mentioned in the past, like I actually took some pictures just right before calling, so I was kind of scrambling because I was thinking of maybe if I could share them with you guys, and I have no issue with you putting them on your show for the audience to see, but
well, we couldn't do it. We because of our new setup, it's difficult to get the images and then put it in the software live. Joe was doing that before, but if you send them to Joe, I mean, we can probably set that up ahead of time.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind. I don't mind doing that at all, especially since I've called more than once, and that way you can kind of just see, and if possible, maybe like you said, maybe sometime in the future the audience can see as well. I really don't have an issue with that, but
sure. So you're saying that you see a significant improvement?
Oh, actually, I'm saying that I'm kind of like the other caller. I'm worried that it might not be effective for me because I started with finasteride, and then I think I started in mid-November, and then in mid-March I started onto dutasteride because I guess that was 4 months, I believe. And I didn't really see much of an improvement because I feel like my hair loss is rather aggressive. As I mentioned, I have a diffuse thinning, and so, for example, like today, I look in the mirror. I use a second mirror, 2 mirrors, so I can see the back of my head, and I can see the pretty much the outline of a Norwood 7. Although I still have hair all over, but because I keep my hair pretty short. On the sides, because I have like the typical, like, I don't want to say military style, but I guess somewhat you can say, like, my hair is really not that long on the bottom or sides. I've always had it that way, and so it grows thicker on the bottom. You can see the Norwood 7 outline, which is kind of scary because it's pretty much like I'm bald, like if you look at it from far away, like with the mirror, different angles and the light, heavy, or like very bright light, it almost looks, you can see the outline of the bald Norwood 7, and so I'm kind of, that's part of why I decided to switch over to dutasteride, because I really need to do as much as I can to...
How old are you right now?
I'm 28.
28, yeah.
Yeah. And then I have that like I said, Norwood 7 pattern, even though I have hair on the top of my head. To the untrained eye, you would never believe that I'm balding, because I've told people it causes me to be insecure, right? I mean, all of us are to an extent. And I tell them, like, I'm going bald, and like, what? No, you're not. Like, just grow it out. I'm like, they think it's that simple because I have hair all over my head. But like I said, I try to cut it shorter on the sides and the bottom to fade away that Norwood 7 pattern, and I'm just kind of worried that the medication may not work. So that's why I'm on dutasteride, and been on it for a little over a month. And so I'm just kind of...
So are you experiencing the same type of side effects as the other caller?
I'm actually not experiencing any side effects as of right now.
That's great.
I've actually been taking... it's funny because one of Joe's videos, he talks about finasteride, right? And as I mentioned before, I used to be terrified. But his video is Pop It Like It's Candy. I think finasteride, Pop It Like It's Candy. And it got to a point to where, just like you, Spencer, you said in the past, where there was a time where you took 7 milligrams a day. And now it's like, I was so terrified of just taking one that I started off with a quarter for a week. And then I thought I had side effects, and I stopped. And then I started again. And then like I said, around 3 or 4 months, I wasn't really noticing anything. So I started taking more than 1 milligram. Just like his video, right? Pop it like it's candy. And then I thought it was ironic that at first I was terrified, and then now here I am trying to get as much in as I can. And then now I'm like I said, I'm on dutasteride, and likewise, I'm not experiencing any side effects.
Well, just to be clear, I'm glad that you're not having side effects. But just to be clear, you do know that Joe made that video. It was a little tongue in cheek to get people's attention.
It was clickbait. Just say it like that.
Yeah.
I'm not actually saying pop it like candy.
But I am saying that I did pop it like candy, and I'm not advocating that, but I did. And if I was told that I would have to, be hooked up to some sort of machine for 2 hours a day at that point in my life to keep my hair, it would have been done. I would have made that happen somehow.
Yeah, exactly. That's
so
where I'm at right now.
So whatever, people say, "Oh, you're insecure," whatever it is.
Sound like Stephen Hawking.
What was that?
You sound like Stephen Hawking now.
Whatever, But I'm just like, listen. People say you're insecure. You said it's about being insecure. Everybody's insecure about something, and this is an issue where, and I liken it to losing say you lose 30% of your vocabulary. I may have lost more over the years, but if you lose 30% of your vocabulary and you're unable to communicate to the world in the way in which you're used to communicating, hair plays a huge role in the way you communicate to the world. And when you're young, especially, and it's fresh, you're used to communicating and dealing in life in a certain way with a head of hair. And it can take decades for some people to get used to it. Some people never do. Some people get over it more, rapidly than others. But at the very beginning, when you're in the, oh shit, I got to try whatever I can to save this shit mode, I get it, man. I totally get it. And I'm going to be, next month is my birthday. I'm going to be 54 years old. And I will still do whatever I can within reason to either keep my hair or to appear that I have a full looking head of hair. And I'm not ashamed to say it. Fuck it. Fuck the haters.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, and that's funny because on Tuesday I actually asked about because I had a whole list of things that I wanted to talk about, just keep things interesting. But there was an interesting, I guess, caller or memorable caller that has called throughout the years to your show, and I think he was on the forums. He's notorious, I guess, for that reason, for doing whatever it takes to keep his hair. But I think he went by Scorpion. Every time he'd call, what's that?
Good old Scorpion, yeah.
Yeah, he would call your show, and then he would want to be anonymous and everything.
I actually think he called this year. He made one phone call. Haven't heard from him in years, and he seems to be doing much better emotionally and with everything. So yeah,
at first
he was an interesting cat, man. Interesting cat. And I have to say that my goal with him was always, every time he called, he's like, he would ask about strip hair transplants. I'm like, dude, do not fucking get a hair transplant, especially a strip. You're not equipped to have that done. You were too young to even consider it. But he was persistent, man, for a long time. And I'm really glad that he was able to get himself away, at least from taking the time to post of these forums, because there's just so much toxicity. It's so difficult, especially for young people with young brains, to really digest it all. And when they're seeing it day in and day out, it's in their face, I just think the forums could be the worst place for them.
Yeah, I really wish we could hear back from him, because I feel like I can relate to him because he actually asked you back in 2013. I actually remember, because like I mentioned, I watch a lot of your old shows, and he actually called and he was asking about finasteride and dutasteride, and I think you advised against dutasteride, and then later on, like, he calls again 5 years later, and he talks about his update, how it's thickened his hair and it's improved, and so I wish I could hear back from him, because I'm kind of
I just want to let you know that it's important. Again, I'm not a physician, so I provide people with insight on the reality of taking these drugs. And my advice is always, again, based on my layman's advice and my experience, that dutasteride is a last resort when it comes to 5-alpha reductase inhibitors. And to do whatever you can with finasteride, meaning even if you up your dosage, talk to your doctor about going up in dosage, go to 5 milligrams a day, see if your body can handle that, and see if you are able to get any positive results from that. Because in general, for those who suffer side effects normally, and for those who don't have or aren't the anomalies with these long-term adverse side effects, it has a much shorter half-life. And if you do suffer from side effects on a higher dosage, the side effects normally go away much more rapidly than if you were to take dutasteride, which sticks around your body for a very, very long time. And those who do suffer with side effects, they can be long. You know, that's what we heard back in the day as far as people really complaining of long-lasting side effects. So that's always been my thing. Just, you know, approach this with caution. You know, if you start slow and move up, dutasteride's always going to be there. So I wasn't discouraging him from using dutasteride. I was just trying to educate him on, you know, how to approach things in a more logical way.
No, I completely understand, and that's a risk that he was actually taking. You know, especially because you wouldn't want to advise someone, you know, with because I mean all this talk about the side effects, right, and the post-finasteride syndrome, and then you have someone wanting to potentially take dutasteride. I understand, you know, like advising them, you know, to be careful, and that's a risk that he was going to be taking, and that would, if anything were to happen, that would have been all on him, and likewise with me, like. This is like just like you mentioned earlier, you would be willing to be hooked up to a machine if that's what it took, and likewise, like I
should never have said that. I should never have fucking said that, because I am going to get, the haters are going to go nuts on me.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know?
But yeah, no, I guess I could just kind of relate to how he was feeling as far as like doing what it takes to try to maintain his hair. But I'm sorry, in the meantime, you said that I can email Joe my pictures?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Can I get that right now? I'm actually on my, all I need is to enter the email, and I can send it right now.
Just admin, ADMIN, at hairtransplantmentor.com.
Okay. At hair. Okay. I'll send it to you right now, and hopefully you get them soon, so you can kind of see what I'm talking about, and maybe that we can kind of understand where I'm coming from. But
all right, man. Well, look, we wish you the best of luck. You know, hang in there. At least, you know, right now, visually, you appear to the world like you still have a full head of hair. So it's very possible that you can maintain that for a long time. You know, we're all guilty of this, and I'm certainly guilty of this. But a lot of our own stress and a lot of our own just difficulties in our lives are caused by worrying about things prematurely before you actually need to worry. Worrying about the medication's not going to work. Worrying about what can happen sometime down the line if you don't do this, or if this doesn't happen. I speak to you guys as an older guy who is really, for the most part, has learned not to worry about things that A, are out of your control, and that B, could potentially happen in the future. You know?
Yep.
That's it. I live and I work for today. I don't know what the fuck is going to happen tomorrow, and I also don't know, like, whether it's business or whatever it is. I don't worry about jack shit, except I try to maintain my health if I can. I don't worry about the fact that, and sometimes I used to think about it, that I used to smoke, and that, you know, I certainly had my fun drinking over the years and all that stuff. I could have, and then been on this medication forever. Who knows what's going on right now in my body? I have no fucking clue. Like I said this last week, all of a sudden Joe can get the call, dude, I have some rare form of cancer, or this or that or the other thing. Hasta mañana. It's been nice knowing you. That's the reality of life. So, you're spending your days and your hours, and all these guys who are spending their time in the message forums, spending their days and their hours that are really precious, worrying about things that haven't happened yet. It's great to be proactive, but you got to try to kind of work on your brain and somehow just be zen with shit.
Yeah, and that's why last time when I mentioned these other YouTubers that are younger and I guess they regard themselves as like mentors or experts or whatever, right? Because they give people advice, and just like you mentioned last time, and I mentioned as well, that I have a lot of respect for you guys because you are the long term, like you said. I mean, you started at pretty much at my age, right, roughly, or maybe before that, but and now you've been able to progress without it letting it affect you, like at least not
Well, it's
your hair
affected.
loss gets severe. Not
You just continue on with it regardless.
Yeah,
I guess you've had some success, is what I'm trying to say, because these others younger, there's a quick solution, but I'm trying to look at the long term. You know, like you're a perfect example of, both of you are a perfect example of the long term, because who's to say, like, there's a lot of these others don't use medication, or they're quick to go to transplant, not thinking of finasteride, you know, a year or two ahead of time.
I don't wish this on anybody, but I can almost guarantee every person that I know that had a hair transplant when they were 25, 26, who were my peers, a couple actually had pretty good transplants, who have not taken medication, are now bald with transplant hair on their head. There is not one. Yeah. There is not a single person.
That was me.
That's it. There not one that exists.
Your caller, I guess one of your recent callers who had been calling several times, I believe his name was James from Dr. Elliott, I believe, and he started really young, and then he said it took him 20 years to finally build up the courage to go back to the doctor and tell him that he messed him up. Mm-hmm. You know, and that's another example. You know, like if you don't really take the right advice, you could end up like him, and that's really what a lot of us are trying to avoid.
Well, what's going to happen to some of these guys, and you know, there's one guy in particular who I see on YouTube, and again, I think he's a nice guy, but what's going to happen is when you actually look at the work that was performed, and even though I don't know if this guy's on finasteride or not, I think he might be, but you know, if things don't go well, and he reaches his 30s, 35, 36, you know, the not so great work that is, you know, okay in some people's eyes right now, and maybe okay in his eyes right now, and I'm glad that it is, because that's, you know, really the bottom line is how the person feels about himself. Mm-hmm. But it will be exposed, and it won't be repairable. And when you're talking about FUE, especially the amount of punctate wounds from a large FUE session. Once that hair thins in the back, and it will. It's not like if it will. It will. That is the nature of male pattern hair loss. These type of guys may not be too happy when they're 40. And that breaks my heart. And it has nothing to do with them going out there and giving advice. They can give all the advice they want. I just think it's important that once you get this advice, that you find us, or Joe, and you can, you know, better, you know, what's the word, assess what's being told to you. And, you know, you have to just base it on, like you said, the long-term reality. These guys are young. It's all short-term. I get it. It's like the kids that I knew that took steroids as kids. Some of them did just 1 or 2 cycles, and they're fine. And some of them stayed on that shit for 10, 12 years. And they're not fine, you know. So it's a fucked up situation. So I'm glad that you found us, and I'm not. As far as you taking the test drive, look, you speak to your doctor about it. If you're good with it, you're not having side effects, and you think this is going to help you, you might be helped tremendously. It works for a lot of people.
I really hope it. I really hope it will help. Because yeah, I'm just like terrified. Like especially with my diffuse pattern and the Norwood like 7, I guess, appearance that it can form, that may form, and I don't know. I'm just terrified. But there's some things that just give me hope, just like Scorpion or whatever. And I also saw on Dr. Bernstein's website, and even Sam Lamb, they talk about like giving it 6 to 12 months, giving medication 6 to 12 months before you make an assessment as to whether or not it was effective or not. But they also talk about a shed. I know I mentioned this last time I called, but is that something that actually occurs? Like, I know Sam Lamb, or Dr. Sam Lamb, he mentioned that it can occur, I want to say, between 3 to 6 months. And then on Bernstein's website, he says that up to 6 months, that it should resolve around after 6 months or something like that. But they speak of the shed, I guess, because I do have some vellus hairs like on my temples, like just like on everyone's face, right? Or they got that peach fuzz, or if you look close enough, you can see vellus hairs. I don't know if that's normal or if that's potential.
It could be
hairs.
It could be potential hairs. It could be hairs popping up, or it could be hairs miniaturizing.
Yeah, because I've pretty much maintained the same hairline for like 5 years, but when I really went lately, I've looked really closely, and I can feel them too, like these vellus hairs. But
well, if you see a difference, if you see new hair, then yeah, I mean the drug can be working, and you could be getting new hair. Now, does that mean, and Joe could answer this question too, does it mean they're eventually going to mature to the point where they are full strength terminal hairs? Sometimes I've seen guys who actually, you see a lot of vellus hair popping up that kind of takes on a shorter lifespan. Maybe it develops some pigment, but it adds some underground. But if you see that happening, there's a great chance that the stronger terminal hairs that you have on your head right now, that the miniaturization in those follicles are reversing, and that you're going to keep that.
Yeah, I really hope that.
Does that make sense, Joe?
Look, yeah, it does. And let me just for the benefit of people that are listening or watching, when you're talking about shock loss from or the shed from any sort of application that you're ingesting or applying topically for the sole purpose of stopping your hair loss, you might actually be temporarily accelerating it, because anytime that you're introducing some sort of barrier to the conversion of testosterone to dihydrotestosterone, you're essentially resetting the growth cycle of those hairs that you're hoping to affect. And it's just like with hair transplantation. When you remove a follicle, whether it be via strip or via FUE, it doesn't matter. Once that follicle is separated from its blood supply, it goes into a reset of the growth cycle. Okay, and that's exactly what happens in the normal growth cycle to begin with. When you have your anagen active state of growth, before it goes into telogen, it goes into catagen, where it's physically separated from its blood supply. So surgically, that's what happens as well. And then when you're introducing elements to interrupt that conversion process, it's almost as it's close to the same timeline that you can get with temporary shock loss from surgery as well, or even from just the natural growth cycle. When you have hair in your hands, average 100 to 150, whatever you care to believe, it's all the same. So if you're going to have an issue of excessive shedding from surgery, from medication, be it oral or topical, you're looking at a process that is visible with surgical patients. In other words, if you're going to have shock loss from a procedure, you're going to see that manifest between 3 to 5 weeks, 6 weeks, 7 weeks after the procedure. And then it takes up to I say 3 to 5 months for it to begin to start growing back. So you don't even see, the benefits of that until another several weeks later to begin with. So yeah, it can be up to 6 months after you start a medication to see any sort of positive return on that that medical investment. Now, that doesn't mean you're not going to see anything before 6 months. It doesn't even mean that you are going to finish your process before 6 months. But that's where the majority of the turnaround will happen if you're going to have some sort of shock from these medications, some sort of shed. So yeah, I mean, I hope that helps, but I think that I think that it makes sense just to give it time.
Yeah. Just like I said, hopefully that's the case. That's my case, and that hopefully it does help me out. But if you don't mind, I'm gonna read this part from Dr. Bernstein's website, where I guess he kind of.
Dude, you're like the millennial Joe from Staten Island. We cannot get you off the fucking line. No, I don't mind, man. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm just gonna keep it short, but
that's cool.
Basically, someone asks, can Avodart hair loss medication cause shedding? And he writes like a little paragraph, and then I heard that shedding can happen, but not like this. Could this have caused telogen effluvium or something else? And then his answer for Dr. Bernstein's answer says, since Avodart dutasteride is a more potent medication than Propecia finasteride, the shedding telogen effluvium may be more dramatic. If you have made a decision to use Avodart, then you need to tolerate this short-term effect. It should subside within the first 6 months on the drug. And hopefully, I mean, I'd assume that Dr. Bernstein knows what he's talking about, and just like you guys, and I really hope that that's the case and that does help me. But I guess it's all about being really patient and not freaking out. But
and also, like you said, not freaking out. Which even as you say, and you're trying to qualify or you're trying to convince yourself that Dr. Bernstein is right, and that we're right, I'm right, and that Joe is right, and that we're all giving you good advice, you still seem, and this is normal, but you still seem unsure. You know?
Yeah.
Just give yourself a fucking break, dude.
I'm
relax, go out with your friends, get laid, do whatever you do at the age of 28. I forgot already. And just enjoy your life and enjoy the hair that you have today, because you're not guaranteed that everything on life is on loan. You can quote me. I should TM that. That's my line. Everything on life is on loan. And the sooner and the younger you realize that, the better life you're going to have. I wish I realized that at the age of 28. I mean, I was getting close already. I mean, I started to realize that and embrace that way of thinking in my early 30s. So I feel very fortunate. But as every year passed and I still had enough hair in my head to comb and to style and to figure it out and to get through life, I was like, all right, 26, boom, I'm 27, great, I'm 28. And instead of worrying about what was going to happen in the future, I was grateful for what I had today.
Yeah, no, honestly, I'm grateful that I even have hair, period, because there was a time around this time last year that when I discovered it, that sodium minoxidil had I think I did experience some shedding, because it seemed like okay, I'm going bald like in a month or two, like it's going, because the Norwood 7 pattern was very apparent, and I think that maybe the hairs were like switching to whatever phases they were going through. But I'm grateful that have hair now at all, period, because I didn't think it would be very long.
Again, I'm going to repeat myself and then I'm going to let you go. I am going to be 54 in a month, and I did my hair earlier today because I had to go out and then rush back here. But, you know, when I'm blow drying my hair and I'm thinking, I am still blow drying my fucking hair. And I'm about to be 54 years old. You know, I was watching a guy who has a podcast who used to be on a very well-known radio show. He's my exact age, born the same year. Actually, I may be a few months older than him. And he was known for having this incredible long hair for years and years and years and years and years. And then he cut his hair when he started to work in mainstream television. And now he's my age. And I see him on camera. I'm like, holy mother of God. Not only has he gained a tremendous amount of weight, which is very normal, he has just a smattering of hair left compared to what he used to have. And this is a guy who would have made fun of you on mic if you talked about your hair loss. So when I was doing my hair, I'm just thinking about this. I'm just like, I don't know how long it's going to last. I don't know how long I'm going to be able to talk. I've been getting hoarse a lot lately. I don't know what's going on. But all I know is today, I walk out into the street. This may sound obnoxious. There's going to be some young chick who may check me out because I'm like the silver guy with the silver hair because I still have hair in my head. That's the way that it is, and I feel very, very fortunate. So for anyone young listening, please just appreciate and have gratitude for today and for what you have. And be proactive, but future is not guaranteed. And that sounds like a bunch of happy horse shit, but if you can really live like that, you're going to have a much better life.
Yeah.
All right, man. Listen, good luck. You're doing fine. You have no side effects. You may just keep your hair.
Yeah, I hope so. Thank you very much. I feel a lot better, and hope, Joe, you're able to get those pictures, and maybe in the future we can discuss it with so everyone can see.
And do me a favor, for all the millennials out there, for all you guys who understand social media and how to, get people's messages out there, go to my Instagram page, follow me at Spencer Kobren, and I don't know if you regram or whatever you do, get that information out there because there's a lot of people that are being fucked out there, and there's nothing on there that, frankly, everything on there will guide them in the right direction. There's short clips. Some of them are shocking because people don't know anything about that unless they actually find the program. But, we want to grow this thing organically, and you guys know how to do that. So help us out, all right?
Yeah. Yeah, I was actually going to, I was debating on sending you something through Instagram, but then again, then I wouldn't be anonymous. I would give it away with you or Joe.
Okay, well, you know what? You could still figure out a way to, either open an account or whatever and share and regram my shit.
Yeah.
All right, man? All right, man.
All right,
Good luck.
Thank you very much for everything, both you and Joe.
You got it.
You have a good night.
Hey, James.
And for the one or two guys who have said in the past that Kobren is begging people to follow him on Instagram, I am asking people to help bake this fucking pie that we've spent our lives building and trying to help. For every person that's listening that appreciates what we do, fucking share it. There's no more money for me to be made by you sharing this. That's the whole fucking point.
That's the thing. It's not like we're selling anything, not like we're gaining anything from this. It's just it's sharing the message to help others.
Yeah,
to help guys like James.
Yeah, the money is there. It's going to It's going to continue to be there. I can go offline tomorrow, cut the cord completely, and it generates. That's what people don't seem to fucking understand. There's a marketing guy that contacted me and said, "Oh, this is great content," and this could be a generic thing, a company doing it. This is incredible content. If it was really marketed, you would have a huge following or something like that. Or if you hired a advertising agency or whatever, I forgot what he said, and I wrote him back. I thanked him and I said, "Hey, man," he said, "You gained a tremendous amount of business." I wrote him back and said, "This isn't about gaining business. This is about saving lives. If you want to help, if you're interested in saving lives, then let me know. We can certainly use some help."
That's just like all the emails I get, about my YouTube channel or about my website, looking for more leads, more clicks.
Oh, I get that all the time.
No.
I have people telling me how to build Facebook and how to do that stuff. First of all, our Facebook page is private, so the only people that are in the Facebook page are people who request to be in it, who are actually mostly physicians in the field. So there's a limit, there's a cap to that. There's only so many people we can bring on there. But I have people all the time who are constantly saying, you can build this, we could build a YouTube presence. I don't even use YouTube. I do YouTube with you, and we're building your channel, which is great. I want to see that because there's a time when I'm just going to fucking bolt, guys. And the channel that is up there now is put up through, was initially GFQ that was kind of separated by GFQ not too long ago. And I'm surprised anybody even views it. It's fucking great. So I just, the fact that there's 1,000 views here and 800 views there and 20,000 views here and 15,000 views there, that all adds up. And if you guys share our message, that's all going to add up. And for everyone who sees it, trust me, it's not just like, oh, listen to these guys. In the back of their mind, they're thinking, am I fucking up? Are they right? And even if we give them pause before they pull the trigger to have surgery or to put some fucking gray market shit on their head, if you share that, you've helped somebody in life.
That's right.
Let's see who this is. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Yeah, is it me?
Yes, it's you.
It would be you.
Okay, it's Nick. Nick from New York.
Nick from New York, welcome, man. How are you?
Thank you. Good. Yourself?
I'm not terrible, man. I got to tell you, hair looks good today. I feel pretty good.
That's good. Happy Greek Easter to you guys. Happy Passover.
You know what? Happy Greek Easter to you, and thank you for the happy Passover.
Thank you. So I called around a month ago. I was on and off finasteride.
Okay.
And the side effects are kind of real, and I kind of panic, and I go back to 1 milligram. But it's like a matter of holding the hairline now. I think I'm at the last stage. I'm holding what I have. It's like a diffused.
So how do you feel now? I mean, you're back on 1 milligram. How do you feel?
I get the side effects, the short testicle pain, lack of libido. So I got off it again, and now I'm coming back to baseline.
Okay.
So I was thinking of starting at 0.25.
Well, a lot of guys do fine with that, but again, we're both not doctors.
How long have you been off the medication? You said you stopped it so you can get back to baseline. How long has it been?
Around 10 days, and I think I've been experimenting with it, and it takes around 10 days for everything to go back to normal.
That sounds about right. I mean, you should be through it now. So what's your plan? You're going to take a quarter tablet of 1 milligram. So you're going to take 0.25 milligram.
Yeah, I figure maybe every other day, because apparently the effects show that it's just as effective as not quite as effective as one, but.
Well, I think it's a good idea to at least start back with that, because it's better than nothing. That's the way I look at it. But I think it's worth considering. And I'm not a doctor, but I think it's worth considering. Starting off the way that you're thinking, and then if you're fine, if you have no issues with that after 4 to 8 weeks, you feel comfortable with it, maybe consider. If you're interested in doing this, maybe consider upping your intake to 5 days a week instead of every other day, and see how you tolerate that. And the reason why I say this is because when I've talked to many people in the past that have had issues, that have had side effects, even at lower, like the normal dosage, they actually, everyone I've spoken to that I've talked about kind of slowly building themselves back into it, it has helped with the side effect issue. So what you're talking about, a quarter tablet or a quarter milligram every other day, I think it's a great way to start. And then after 4 to 6 weeks, maybe consider going to 5 days. And then if that works for 4 to 8 weeks after that, consider going to half of a milligram every other day, and then again back to every day, and build yourself up and see if that can work for you. And if you get to the point where you're starting to see those side effects come back, then back off to the previous intake frequency and dosage you were taking before, and with time that should revert back to the no side effect condition. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
So I guess moving along, I had tried minoxidil at some point last year.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind
how'd
of
that
like
work
made
out?
my it kind of messed with my skin and
Yeah.
like
That,
gave me like
that's common.
dark circles under my eyes, and so I spoke to this kid at the gym, and he said that he experienced the same side effects, and I don't think that's talked about.
Talked about a little bit. You hear about it on the forums for sure.
Now,
Did
how
I
does that
say
work?
that? Did I say the forums? I'm so sorry.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
But how does that work, Nick? When you're at the gym, how do you start talking to someone at the gym about minoxidil? How's that conversation come up?
I'm trying to be more proactive with people and take charge of the conversation because nobody really likes to talk about hair loss. And
yeah,
I like that.
So this guy was like this hat, and it's got like these hairs hanging out. So I guess it's a transplant, but in like a hat version.
He's got a hat with hair hanging out of it.
Yeah, it's like one of those religious, I think, Muslim hats. And you can't really see the hairline in the front. But it's got like hair coming out of the side. So.
Well, the good news is he gets to wear a hat all the time.
Exactly.
Yeah, he does. He does. And I can tell he's like self-conscious about his hair. But he's happy with that. And So
have you spoken? Obviously, you've spoken to a doctor at one point because you got a prescription for Propecia or finasteride. Are you in contact with your doctor about how this is working out for you?
Yes, I was on finasteride for a long time, and then like last year, I just tried to come clean from all medication and like hit the gym, and then I kind of noticed again the side effects at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So I was a good respondent to finasteride.
Right, but I guess what Joe's asking is, are you working with your doctor now, talking about the issues, and not just
yes, Dr. Bernstein, of course.
Oh, you are?
Here in New
Okay,
York.
great.
Okay.
So what is he telling you to do?
He told me to go down to 0.5 and try it there. The thing is, I've been like panicking, and I'm going back to 1 for like 10 days, and then,
Well, here's the thing. You probably, and that was good advice, you want to introduce it into your body. Again, I'm not a doctor, but that's why he advised you and take it the smallest dose possible where you're going to, and it's called titrating. Smallest dose possible that gives you the most benefit with the least chance of having a side effect. And then you slowly can titrate up to see if you are able to continue benefiting and not having any side effects. So 0.5 is not a bad idea. And what Joe suggested is not a bad idea. And you even suggested 0.25 milligrams. Not a bad idea. So don't panic, because more isn't necessarily better with this drug. That's the interesting thing about this drug. There are plenty of guys, and again, I am a person who has gotten to the point where I take one dose once a week. Most doctors will say that's crazy because of the half-life of the drug, but because my DHT has been suppressed for so long, and it takes about 2 weeks on average to get back to baseline, and probably more actually. And then it could take weeks or months before that baseline DHT affects your hair follicles. For me, intermittent therapy works. And I take one dose of 5 milligrams once a week, and so far so good. I don't suggest that to people. That's just what I do.
Okay.
But you got your body. That shit has to be built up in your body for a long period of time. So you have to be taking it consistently, according to any doctors I've spoken to, for a long enough period of time, so that if you do decide to do intermittent therapy, or back down to intermittent therapy with a higher dose, then that's reasonable. But what Joe suggested, in my view, is probably the way to go.
Okay, so taper up.
Taper up. Taper up, man.
Okay.
I like that. Taper up.
All right.
And since I have you guys, and a lot of people are kind of inquiring about Brizula, have you guys?
Oh yeah.
Any
Brazula, Trinov, what was it called before? I forgot. Yeah, this is the marketing name for a product that was spoken about heavily. Was it 1 year ago, 2 years ago, by this Italian scientist? Yeah, Brozzu, Dr. Brozzu, where some of my friends in the industry were at the presentation, and they said there was really nothing to it. The presentation was very, very poor. The information was not very how can I put it, scientifically valid, basically is what they're saying. However, there are indicators that it helps people with what's the condition, Spencer? Not male pattern hair loss.
Alopecia areata.
Alopecia areata, which is a completely different animal to male pattern hair loss. What I suspect is going on here, and I haven't looked at the list of ingredients, don't know, what's on the bottle, but I'm going to suspect that there are other DHT, air quotes, DHT fighters, and maybe even minoxidil mixed in. I don't know. But I know that the baseline of this development was based on, and the big excitement was a before and after picture, not by Brozzu, but I forgot where it came from, but it was a patient that had alopecia areata. His entire head was pretty much hairless, including his eyebrows. And they started applying this, and he got all of his hair back. Great for him. Awesome. But it has nothing to do with male pattern hair loss. So I'm not a big believer in this. I think it's just another money grab. I might look closer at it just so I can give some more educated information about it, just so I can say that I've really looked into it to validate what I'm saying. But I'm pretty sure I'm on the spot here, or on the ball.
Okay. And then I wanted to ask you, Joe, when you have the surgery, like the FUE,
mm-hmm.
It kind of feels like I'm going to fast track from Norwood 2 to like a Norwood 5 with the
Mm-hmm.
diffuse. How is like the sensation on your scalp, on the back after the FUE? And how does your hairline feel on the front?
Well, I mean, it's kind of different ways to answer that. I mean, the procedure itself, you're not going to feel anything except for the numbing shots, the anesthesia that's injected into the scalp, and you'll be getting top-ups of that through the day, depending on your metabolism, how fast you're burning through the anesthesia. But you usually get topped up a few times. You don't feel anything. It's numb. And then the hairline, if you have hairline work done, that area is numb for a few days as well. The donor area will start to recover quickly. My one experience with FUE, and this may have just been the situation where there wasn't a whole lot of seriousness put into the procedure, because it was just a test by a doctor I used to work for. It hurt far worse than any strip surgery. Well, not any. It hurt far worse than any of the strip surgeries I've had since 2002. Far worse. The back of my scalp was throbbing. It was really uncomfortable. I remember thinking to myself, if this were the only thing available to me, I probably wouldn't be having procedures. But I think it was just unique to that particular situation. From what I hear, most of the people that I deal with that have had FUE, larger scale FUE, the biggest complaint I hear about is that it gets itchy, which is normal for healing in general. Like if you get a cut on your arm after the initial scab forms, it'll be itchy, and that's just part of the healing process. You might have some numbness in the donor area. You might have some, you'll definitely have some tenderness, but it's really not a big deal. if everything goes well. That said, there's always a chance that it might not go well, that you might have maybe some nerves can be clipped the wrong way when the punch is going in. I mean, it's hard to tell, but usually it's uneventful as far as the healing goes. It just takes time. That scare you?
Uneventful is
sense,
a very physician-like, a very medical term, which I like, by the way.
So I guess once
just
you have
just
that,
like
if you want to
significantly
shave your head,
another good one.
Yeah.
What's that?
I guess once you have a surgery, if you want to like rock the bald look, then it's going to look funny with the little. I think a lot of people understand that about FUE.
Let me tell you
Like
something.
there's still scarring.
Let me tell you something. If anybody thinks that they choose to have FUE because they're going to shave their head below a number 1 or 2, and they're having a significant amount of hair moved, they are fucking kidding themselves. And anyone who's being sold that bill of goods needs to know that. That is it. If you are in the military, if you are, going to wear a very high fade, that's what it's called, what you young people call it.
Skin fade. Fade.
It's not going to happen, dude. Unless you have extremely white skin and don't ever plan on going into the sun, it's not going to happen.
Yep.
I don't care whoever's selling you this is bullshitting you. And to this day, I see these guys saying, well, I have FUE, worst case scenario, I'll shave my head. Yeah, you can shave your head. And if the grafts are you don't have a lot of grafts moved and the punches are small enough, you could kind of get away with it and just look like you have these weird kind of offset speckles that maybe would be noticeable and not. But if you have 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 grafts moved, that's it, man. You're done. Toast. Over. Say good night.
I don't think I've not seen a single patient that's had even a modest-sized FUE procedure able to rock down to the skin shaved. It's not possible.
And if the surgery is being performed by anything, in most cases, greater than a 0.75 or 0.8 interior diameter and exterior diameter, or exterior diameter.
Exterior.
Yeah, diameter punch. You're fucking fucked.
We'll say cutting edge.
Yeah, you're fucked, man. If someone claims that they have a 0.9 millimeter needle or punch, but the exterior diameter of that needle is 1.2 millimeters, that's the size hole you're going to get in your fucking head, man.
And I need to requalify what I was saying. It's not. I mean, you can shave your head regardless of what's on your head, but my point was, you can't shave it down to the skin without there being evidence that something happened.
Right.
Just to be clear about that.
Right, okay. Which.
And then it comes down to the point, if you are wanting to rock that kind of look, then don't get a hair transplant. Just shave your head.
Yeah.
Done.
I mean, for me, it would either FUE or FUT would work because I wear my hair longish in the back for sure. So unless I was completely depleted, or unless I had that 16:9 aspect ratio, like cluster of hair removed, that sometimes they have to do depending on the device that's being used, then it would be unnoticeable. But if I wanted to shave my head close, or even down to, in some cases, down to a relatively, I don't know, even a 3. I've seen guys who have had a lot of work done, and they try to shave down to 3 or clip down to 3, and you can see it. You can see that there's a difference in texture in the back of the scalp. You can see the growth patterns become more apparent, even though it's not a strip, because there's that separation that is, maybe to actually see the skin, you have to look closely. But from a distance, you will see a difference in texture and a difference in fullness that you're not quite sure what you're looking at, but it almost looks like you have different color hair in the back of your head, which we all do. But if there's parts missing, it becomes more apparent. This is all stuff that no one tells you.
Right. Dr. Bernstein told me, actually. So that was
Well, there's going to be some IHRS members who tell you that, but in general, and that's why there's so few comparatively. In general, that's what most docs will not tell you that. If you see an ad on Instagram or on Facebook or any place else talking about the no stitch, whatever it is, most guys who are putting ads up like that are not going to be telling you the reality of what you're getting involved in.
Right.
So, all right, man, listen, we wish you the best of luck. We got to close up shop. Thanks so much for listening. If you have any more questions, we should be live on Tuesday, and we'd be more than happy to take your call again.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Good luck. All right. Have a good weekend.
Have a
Thanks
nice
for
weekend.
calling. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, guys. So here's the good news. You got the websites out of the way.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah. So all I have to do is give out our sites. Joe Tillman's personal website is hairtransplantmentor.com. Check out everything Joe Tillman, and you'll learn a lot about hair transplantation as well. That's hairtransplantmentor.com. Thebaldtruth.com for archives and segments of this broadcast. Yes, that particular site has not been updated in like 2 months or so, maybe more. That's going to change. All the content is in the till. If you go to baldtruthtalk.com, you'll see that we've been adding segments in the section Hair Transplant Show. So there's new segments there, stuff that you are not seeing anywhere else on YouTube or on the Bald Truth or any place else. So go to baldtruthtalk.com and get the truth about what's happening in this field. Go to the hair transplant section or the hair transplant show section, and you'll see some really great clips. What else? Joe Tillman's personal YouTube page, which a lot of you guys are watching the program on and you guys are chatting on. That is, sorry, it's youtube.com/hair transplant mentor. Subscribe, please. Click the bell once you subscribe so you get notifications and you can see us live, interact with other hair loss sufferers in the chat. But even more importantly, in my view, it gives you the chance to obviously see us, but, we want to hear your stories. And there's a lot of guys the guys who actually take the time, who are really involved, who go to Joe's stuff and Joe's chat or find us through the Bald Truth, they're the ones who are picking up the phones. The guys who are listening on iHeartRadio or iTunes Radio or Stitcher Radio, in general, they're listening to listen and to learn, but they're not quite as engaged as you guys are. So we want the guys who are engaged to pick up the phones. People learn from your phone calls and from your questions. That's why we do the live broadcast. American Hair Loss Association is AmericanHairLoss.org. If you're considering surgical hair restoration, obviously check out the International Alliance of Hair Restoration Surgeons. That's IAHRS.org. We created what we consider to be a safe place for consumers interested in hair transplant surgery to start their research. Again, to start their research. Just because someone is a member of the IHRS, accepted into what we do and that we support their work, we've done our best to make sure that they are on the same page with us and that they support what we do, which is extremely important when you're speaking to the integrity of these physicians. If they support surgery as a last resort, truth in advertising, the fact that we're going to try to talk you out of surgery at any turn, that says a lot about the guys that support and who are part of and accepted into the International Alliance of Hair Restoration Surgeons. It is not a site for lead generation. It is not a site where you're going to have a free online fucking consultation. I will not sell surgery, and the organization was not founded on that premise. Despite a lot of the misinformation and the sadly the ignorance of people in this field and actually a lot of doctors in this field. Our members and what we do is far different. We're here to serve the community, and the community that I'm talking about is the hair loss community. So that's IAHRS.org. And I think that's it. Until next time, be strong, God bless, and thank you so much for hanging out. Take care. That didn't work.
the Eiffel Tower out of metal and brawn. That's what kind of man I am.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry for any inconvenience you may have been put to prior to the programme, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. And if you could now leave by the exits at the rear, that'd be splendid. Thank you. Good night.
Bud Light presents Real American Heroes.
Real American heroes.
Today we salute